climate change is happening now and will affect everyone and everything on Earth. By working together and having a sustainable development goal of climate action, we can try and reduce the impacts of climate change for everyone. An increase in population, the need for energy, transport and development has caused us to burn fossil fuels. Human activities have led to a rapid increase in CO2 concentrations in our atmosphere. In 2013, for the first time in recorded history, CO2 levels surpassed 400 parts per million. This has led to an increased greenhouse effect and is warming our atmosphere. A changing climate has direct and indirect effects on the global climatic system. During the decade of 2000 to 2009, 8 Category 5 hurricanes occurred in the United States alone. It's not just hurricanes, but droughts, increased precipitation and overall changes in the climatic patterns. But it isn't just humans at risk. It is estimated that 25% of the world's mammals and 12% of the birds are at significant risk of global extinction too. Ocean acidification is also an effect of rising CO2 levels in our atmosphere from our use of burning fossil fuels. 29 reef-containing World Heritage Sites would cease to exist by the end of this century if we continue to emit greenhouse gases under a business-as-usual scenario.
What is the goal? Sustainable Development Goal 13, Climate Action, is focused on preventing climate change and mitigating its current impacts. The goal involves integrating climate change measures into national policies, strategies and planning, including education, and requires action on a local, national and international scale. Goal 13 also aims to implement the pledge by countries that are part of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change to commit a combined $100 billion annually by 2020 to mitigate climate change. Why is this important? Climate action is important because of the impact unsustainable development has had on the planet. Climate change due to anthropogenic inputs arises from greenhouse gas emissions due to human activities such as transport, industrial processes, electricity consumption, and intensive agriculture. For example, greenhouse gas emissions are now 50% higher than their 1990 levels. This has led to increased climate-related hazards, such as the recent forest fires in California and the melting of ice shelves.
But can we solve the problem? The goal aims to strengthen all countries' resilience to climate-related hazards and natural disasters, integrate climate change measures into national policies, and improve education and awareness on climate change mitigation and impact reduction. The United Nations Development Programme supports countries on climate change and disaster resilience through 3 important global agreements: the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, the Sendai Framework on Disaster Risk Reduction, and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The Paris Agreement was the first global agreement to combat climate change, pledging to contain global warming below 2 degrees Celsius through reliance on each country itself to internally alter their ways of life, with updates every 5 years. The Sendai Framework in March 2015 outlined new ways forward to tackle disaster risk reduction, placing emphasis on the importance of linking risk with development, as only developments that are risk-informed will be sustainable.
The 2030 Agenda was the adoption of world leaders in September 2015 of the Sustainable Development Goals, number 13 of which being climate action, which was not originally mentioned in the Millennium Development Goals. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is the United Nations body for assessing the science related to climate change, and its report for 2018 states that the Earth is on track for a 3 to 4 degree temperature rise, and urges the world to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to net zero by 2050 to have at least a chance at limiting the effects of global warming. The UK's approach to responding to climate change has its basis in the Climate Change Act 2008, requiring emissions of CO2 and other greenhouse gases to be reduced and to prepare for the potential climate change risks. The Act includes targets such as significantly reducing emissions by 2050 to at least 20% of the 1990 level, requiring the government to cap the amount of greenhouse gases emitted spread over 5 years, allowing 12 years in advance to allow policymakers, individuals and businesses enough time to prepare. Whilst individuals also have the potential to respond to climate change through small daily lifestyle changes, these small edits do not truly have the potential to hugely limit climate change effects. This could be achieved by contacting legislators and supporting environmental groups. Over half of Americans believe global warming should be a high priority. but only 12% had contacted a legislator in support of mitigation policies.
What are you prepared to do?